Welcome to Tunnel Vision. I'm Adam Connor-Bourne, and I'm joined today by New Zealand legend Shane Smelts. Shane, good to have you on, mate.
Good to be here, Eds.
Happy World Cup, mate. We are in it and it's going. We've been waiting for a very long time to get here, but we are go. How's the opening day or two been for you, mate?
How bloody good. We are here, Eds. The tournament's finally here. We've been talking about it for so long, so fantastic to have it underway. We've enjoyed the first couple of days, that's for sure. Up this morning watching the US. Yesterday was big at the Azteca, wasn't it, with Mexico getting the result there. Today, though, USA, a lot of pressure, I think, was on their shoulders, and they came out and delivered, didn't they? Good performance, certainly strong early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just starting there straight away, we saw USA, Paraguay, and Los Angeles today. USA beating Paraguay 4-1. USA looked much the better side. Paraguay were taking off all over the park, mate. Just talk me through what you saw and what your thoughts on the game were.
Well, just a bright start, wasn't it, from the US? I think there's so much hype about this team coming into it, a lot of rumors and talking points around Pochettino and the squad in general, and they came out and delivered. You could see how pleased they were with that. Obviously, it helps getting off to a good start. The energy from the front three, I think they pinned back Paraguay in their own half. They couldn't get out at times. I was a little bit surprised at that, to be honest, to start off that way with an emphatic result, really, and to go into halftime 3-0 up in your opening game. I think they scored more goals in that game than they did in the whole campaign last World Cup. So they are off to a flyer.
They absolutely are. I mean, from where I was sitting, they just look like the better team all over the park. Physically, much stronger, much more capable. I think the running stats, I've not seen them yet, but they will be so much more than Paraguay. Tactically, they were all over them. And I think they just looked more hungry. Now, that's a very unstatistical way of looking at things, but they looked the better side all over. One of the changes that we've seen at this World Cup, and we saw again in this USA-Paraguay game, was the introduction of the drinks breaks or the refreshment breaks, obviously splitting the game up into effectively 4 quarters. Now, football not being the dominant sport in the US, the majority of the games that they play over there are played in those 4 quarters. Do you think, first of all, that helps the USA just because they're all used to playing games that are in that kind of 4-quarter sense? And do you think it changes the game and the World Cup games as a whole, the fact that there is 2 extra breaks in the game?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, Ads. I really not. I think it's sort of breaks the momentum of the matches up. You know, in some ways they're trying to speed the game up, and this certainly slows it down. I know there's a lot of talk around conditions and weather. Probably I'm a little bit biased because I played majority of my career in the A-League, where we only got drinks breaks if it's over 40 degrees. So I'm not quite sure it's that hot. And I think we want to see flow in the games, right? This is the World Cup, the highest level of football. We want to see this game flow. It probably suits, if anyone, it suits the American supporters because, as you say, they're used to seeing quarter time. Gives them time to go off and get their hot dogs and their chips and get back to their seat probably. But I don't really see it benefiting anyone other than maybe the teams that are under the pump at the time, struggling. And that's just a way of relieving a little bit of pressure from them. And their coach can get at them tactically, change a few things. So it's going to help sides that are feeling the pressure during the games, but sides that are dominating like the US were in that first half, they don't want a quarter time or a drinks break. I don't think. They just want to get at their opposition. They've got the momentum. Why would you want to stop the game?
Absolutely. I mean, from where I'm sitting, if you're a manager and you are under the cosh at that moment in time, you've got 3-4 minutes to talk to your players, to make changes, to get instructions across. To otherwise, you'd be trying to get as balls are coming in left, right, and centre. I mean, just coming back.
Sorry, Ed. So if anything, it
No,
probably
please.
helps the smaller nations, right? Let's be honest, because it gives them, you're almost playing to quarter time. Let's get to quarter
Exactly.
time. Normally, it's you going out there saying, we're playing, we've got the halftime break. We know we're coming in at 45 minutes to reassess things. Now it's like quarter time, then we'll reassess. I'm sure that's part of the tactics.
It has to be. And I think the managers and the management staff, the coaching staff that take advantage of that quarter time are going to be the ones who are most successful, maybe from those smaller nations, the ones that can punch above their relative weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just thinking back to your World Cup experience, Shane. So obviously in 2010, you played against Slovakia and gave an incredible assist in the 93rd minute. Do you think that if there would have been a refreshments break in that kind of final 75 minutes, that final 3rd quarter time, do you think New Zealand would have been able to hold and gain the momentum to put enough pressure on to kind of score that assist and go down that road?
It's a hard one to say. It really is. How that would have affected things, I'm not sure. I think probably, as I said, I've mentioned this before. So for smaller nations to go, the further you go into the tournament, after you've played a few games, you've got to remember you're away for so long. You've played pre-tournament matches, and then you're playing big nations every 3-4 days, right? So maybe the first couple of games it wouldn't have mattered, but going into the last game where we played Paraguay, funny watching Paraguay this morning. So we played Paraguay in the third game, but we were probably running out a little bit of gas there at that time. We've got smaller squads, we haven't got the depth of the big nations, so who knows, maybe quarter time breaks, drinks breaks at that period would have helped us. But as I say, your big nations with depth throughout the squad, I don't think they really want it.
Absolutely. You touched upon the conditions. It felt to me like that USA Paraguay game today definitely was played at a higher pace. I think you could also make that same argument for the game in Canada earlier this morning as well. Obviously, yesterday in the opening day, we see two opening games played at pretty decent altitude, and I think the game slowed down as a result of that. Do you think how much of a change, how much of an effect do you think these conditions are going to have on the World Cup overall? Considering there's going to be humidity, there's going to be heat, and there's going to be altitude at varying different times and games around the World Cup.
Well, it's probably pot luck on where you're playing your matches, to be honest. I mean, you got to remember you've got Mexico, USA, Canada. That's covering a fair bit of land there. So you're going to get a variation in weather, aren't you? I mean, Mexico was obviously a bit hotter than it was today in LA that we saw the game this morning. I mean, what a stadium that was in LA. It looked like it had about 5 tiers and a roof. So I'm not sure if was that roof fully closed. I'm not sure. Was there aircon? Was it a bit like Qatar? I'm not sure, but it definitely was a bit cooler, I think, from the game yesterday at the Azteca. And you could see that with the energy in the players. So once again, I think depending on where you're playing your matches, and a lot of teams have got a bit of travel as well, haven't they, in playing in different areas. I think depends where you are is going to affect the matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, purely from an England perspective, some of the England players look like they have been struggling in the heat during those training sessions and those open training days. So I think, yeah, like you said, mate, playing in that 40-degree heat with drinks breaks in the A-League, that's got to benefit some players, and that may be a little bit of a secret route into a bit of success, maybe a couple of moments that might define some World Cups for people. We sort of mentioned and touched upon the speed of the game today. Now, it seems that to me that maybe for an American audience, maybe because FIFA has a product that it wants to protect, they are doing a lot to try and speed up the game. They're doing a lot and introducing a lot of rules that are trying to make the game flow better. So we've seen a few introduced in leagues around the world before this, but kind of the main ones that seem to me to be coming across. First of all, the 5-second rule on your throw-ins. So if you don't take a throw-in for the first 5 seconds, then it goes to the other team. Obviously, you do not want to concede a throw-in. I mean, talk to me about that kind of FIFA trying to speed up the game, and talk to me about what your thoughts are on those rules.
These rules, I'm a bit of a fan. I do like them, to be honest. You're speeding up the game. It takes away that element of teams trying to slow up play and time waste in certain moments. So you're going to, overall, I think you'll probably get a more exciting product. Let's hope. How many times do you see a team chasing a result, whether they're trying to claw back in the game, late in the game, and you see teams start to make a couple of substitutions, right? And the players are taking half a minute, maybe 2 minutes to walk off the pitch, and you get the opposition getting fired up with it, right? They're trying to give them a kick up the arse to get them off the pitch. So you'll stop all that. I mean, I've seen it already. You're seeing players literally jog off the pitch, which you've never seen before. I quite like it. It speeds the game up. It gives us more action, and that's what we're here to see.
I agree. And, I don't even think we've seen the full implementation of those rules yet. When the games become much more jeopardy, and you're talking about knockout times or teams that may be going in or trying to rescue a point, wherever it may be, and waste time. I mean, the rule at the moment is if they take more than 10 seconds to get off the pitch, then the player coming on can be held for at least a minute. So that's a huge disadvantage for the team that's making that time wasted.
Yeah.
And
fair play to them. Fair play to them. I don't understand. Well, it's quite interesting to see how they've implemented this at the highest level in the World Cup. I don't know if they've trialed this or tested this anywhere, but it seems to be working from what I see. So fair play to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. The games look at pace, and the referees, although with some loose red cards, loose yellow cards in the last few days, look like they're on top of the speed, most definitely. Moving on to the other teams in the rest of Group D, you've got Australia and Turkey. They obviously play tomorrow morning. Australia are coming into this World Cup not with the best of form. They've got two wins in the last 5 matches, albeit friendlies. And then you look at Turkey, who have 4 wins in their last 5 matches. Just talk to me about what your thoughts are on the Australia team, the Turkey team, and the expectations around that.
Yeah, really excited to see this one. I think it's a big, big match. I think Australia have to start well in this group because you've already seen now the pressure comes on because USA have got off to such a good start as well. So you start to see how this group will unfold already. Australia have to face USA in their second match, so they're going to be riding confidence now and starting to get that wave of the home host nation behind them, which sort of adds to the pressure of trying to get a result. So I think it's important that Australia start off well. Turkey won't be easy. There's been a bit of back and forth from the captain and the coach. I've seen obviously confident that they're the dominating team and they're going to go out and be the aggressors and show their quality, which you can understand. Turkey are a strong nation and they've had some good form. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to look at that group and think, really, it's the fight for third place. Paraguay looked weak today, and Australia must be looking at Paraguay and thinking they're there for the taking in that final group game.
Yeah, I I don't think I've seen this in previous World Cups where other nations are literally looking at Australia now and saying, "You're not much." You see it from the US media. Obviously, there's been a bit of banter and back and forth from that, which is good because it hypes the match up. You've seen it now from Turkey in some ways, not disrespecting Australia, but clearly showing that they feel they're the stronger nation. I think in the past, other nations have given Australia a little bit more respect. So it's now Australia's turn to go to the tournament as clear underdogs in this situation, prove a few people wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I say, I think Australia must be targeting that third place. You look at the USA today, even with their mixed qualification and the kind of results around that, and you must look at the USA and think they're a massive threat. Turkey, as you said, look strong, are always going to be a strong team and a difficult opening game.
Well, I guess that comes down to this game, ads. You can say third place. In my opinion, you'd have to have the mindset that you're going to qualify in the top two. You still have to. I know USA have come flying out the blocks, but if you can get a result against Turkey, and anything can happen in the first match, it really can. It's a moment for both sides to be sort of feeling each other out, establish themselves in that group and at the World Cups. I think the first round is always interesting. Yes, they go and play US after that, and then looking at Paraguay today. I mean, I know they came out in the second half and showed a little bit more of their quality. They got on the score sheet and I think they are a little bit better than they showed today, but they're beatable as well. There's points to grab in this group.
I think it's got to be open. You've got to go in with the mindset of we can win this, we can do this, we can qualify. Australia have just awarded Popovich a new contract until 2027. That's got to be a boost for the squad going into that first game, right?
I'm not sure. My thoughts on this one are I don't really know why this has come about now. Obviously Popovich has come in and done well since he's had the reins, but the timing of it is really interesting for me. Whether you think it's the right or wrong appointment, that's up for a debate. That's not for me to decide. The timing of it is really interesting. So I think if you are in the squad, I mean, if you're one of the players, that's the furthest away from your thought process is the future of the coach. You're focusing here now. You're a couple of days away from the first match. I think it's the last thing you really want to be hearing, to be honest. So I don't know why the timing of the appointment has come out now. So yeah, really interesting one from me.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it pays off. Hopefully Australia do incredibly well and make it out of the groups and progress through as far as they can. I can't have you here, mate, without talking about New Zealand. Obviously, this will be New Zealand's first World Cup since you were there in South Africa with them in 2010. Their first game is against Iran. Obviously, Iran are coming into this with an incredibly difficult set of circumstances. There's conflicts going on, but not only that, they have to enter and exit the country the same day that they're playing. What are you expecting from New Zealand in this first game and maybe from the group as a whole as well?
Yeah, once again, I can't get away from the fact that I think the first game is so important, and maybe that's a little bit of my experience from my tournament, where I just know that if we didn't get something from that first game, which we came away a draw with Slovakia, if we didn't have that result, I think the World Cup would have been different. I'm backing the boys here. I really am backing the boys to get something from this first game. Iran, if you look at the group, is a game you need to get something from. As you say, they haven't had the best preparation in terms of organisation and where they've been and matches they've been able to play. saying that, they will be a strong side. Most of their side play in Iran, so they've got that unity within the group. I think only a couple of players, looking at their squad, only a couple of players play in Europe. Whereas if you look at New Zealand, we've got 13, 14 players playing in Europe and the UK, a couple more in the MLS. So I think we've got more experience of playing overseas. I think you have to look at this match and say we are going to dominate this match. We need to come out the blocks and get something from it.
New Zealand have to be looking at and targeting this game, thinking that they can get one over Iran here. Iran have the second oldest average squad of all the teams in the World Cup, and add that to the travel and all the disruption they're going to have around preparations for the game. You've got to see that as physical advantage massively. New Zealand start the group against Iran. You've got to be targeting a result there. The next game against Egypt, obviously the quality of opponent improves massively versus Iran. And talk to me about that Egypt game and what you're expecting from New Zealand out of that game.
Yeah. Once again, it doesn't get any easier, does it? But to be honest, as I'm not thinking too much beyond the first game, but I know there needs to be a bit of a plan. I think hopefully the guys will have some confidence from the first game, because that's always, once again, looking back, I don't want to reflect too much on 2010, but we played Italy in the second game and we were riding the wave of picking up a draw late in the first one. So if you can take some confidence, we see this morning USA scoring 4 goals. They play Australia next. They're going to ride that wave with the host nation and go into that game against Australia with confidence. So that's a scary proposition to face a team that's got confidence. So hopefully New Zealand can take something from Iran, go into the match against Egypt, which will be difficult. They're a different sort of side. They're unpredictable. They'll sit back. They can hit you on the counter. They've got some experience in there as well, of course, Mo Salah. So yeah, difficult challenge, but let's see how we go.
Looking at Group G as a whole, are your expectations that New Zealand get out of that group, or more that you try and get your first win as a nation in the World Cup?
Yeah, I wouldn't say expect to get out of the group. Of course, I'm not silly. I think everyone will be looking at it going, New Zealand are the weakest side in that group. I see a real potential to get out of the group. That's what I see. So if this group of players believe in themselves, take something from the first match, build on that throughout the tournament. Obviously, you've got to play then Egypt and then Belgium. Belgium might have already qualified after the first 2 games and potentially resting a couple of players, which would be an interesting situation as well. And we've drawn against Italy at the World Cup. Why couldn't you draw against Belgium, for example, even get a result? It's not out of the question. So definitely, I'm optimistic, real opportunity to get out of this group. But once again, it comes down to the first match and making sure we take something from it.
You've got to go in hopeful, right? You've got to go in with the expectation that you're going to do well. Hopefully, get out of that group and see how we go. Besides that, you've got Tim Payne taking you all the way through. His Instagram followers alone will give you the momentum that you need going into that final game, surely. What is there, 6 million of them now?
Is he up to 6 million?
It's something around there. My guy's set for life. Wow, he's doing really well. Well done, Payne. Good lad, mate.
Yeah, no, he's a top guy. Hopefully it's a little bit of a deflection away from their team and it can keep them happy. And I'm sure there's plenty of banter going on within the group. But yeah, it's a side note. I know if Payne is selected to play, he won't be thinking about his followers. He'll be just dying to get the result for the national team. That's for sure.
Sensational. You mentioned about your time in the A-League earlier, Shane. Not that I want to compare too much, but we're going to compare. Looking at the squads, the Australia squad and New Zealand squad, who do you think looks better on paper?
I think both squads are going through a bit of a transition period, to be honest. There's a lot of sort of younger blood coming into both squads. I think both sides look fairly healthy for the next campaign and probably the one after, because, you've got a lot of boys in both sides that are 22, 23, 24. So they're going to be around for some time to come. That's a good sign. I would have liked to have seen potentially even 1 or 2 younger ones for New Zealand in the national side. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. Luke Brooks-Smith's probably one I would have liked to have seen go to the World Cup. I think just having someone, I think there's a bit of a duty going to a World Cup as a nation like New Zealand where, let's be honest, I'll put my hand up, you're not going to go and win the World Cup. But if you can start to think that you're going to be at the next few World Cups and you start to blood these players in, I think a lot of sides, if you look at the history of the World Cup, they take a young player or two just to get that experience, whether they play or not. And I think someone like Luke Brooks-Smith, a dynamic, quick, strong winger who's only just about to turn 18, I think he would have been fantastic at the world stage. I could see him getting some minutes as well. And just what does that do for a player in the next 4 years in the next cycle? Australia's done that with Harrington. He's not even going there just to get a taste of it. He's probably starting in most matches at the back. He's been fantastic in the last few years. Um, and that comes down to clubland as well. Ads, I think you have to get the games at your club. Phoenix haven't necessarily played Luke Brooks-Smith in recent times in the last season enough, probably, for him to warrant his position. But I would like to have seen him there. On the flip side, Harrington was at Brisbane Roar. It was when Ruben Zakovic backed him in as the centre back, and he played every game initially, and then he's kicked on from there. He's gone to the MLS. He's played every minute. He's come into the national side. He's played every minute. So you get on that run. Doesn't matter what age you are. You get on that run. If coaches back you and they believe in you, you can shine. And who knows? He's on the world stage now. I'm hearing rumours that Harrington might even be talked about with the Barcelona scouts looking at him. So there's plenty of chat going on. And as I say, it's an opportunity. It's a world stage. It's an opportunity for young players to shine.
Wow, you heard it here first. Barcelona. Right? I mean, from your experience, you obviously played with Chris Wood at the 2010 World Cup. He's captaining that side going through the New Zealand side. Now, that's got to have been a grounding for him to where he is in his very, very good career to this point.
Yeah. Well, that's my point in case, right? Is that, Chris Wood was away with us in 2010. He was 18. Obviously he had quality. We saw that. Did we think he'd have the career he's had today? No one could probably see that. But, to take away a player and give him minutes as an 18-year-old, I remember Woodsy nearly scored against Italy. He nearly got the winner. So what does that do for a player's career at that age? It sets him up a little bit. And that's where I think some coaches and national sides have a duty of care to think about the national team beyond their reign as well. I would like to have seen a couple more sprinkling of young talent going away as well.
I cannot let you leave without getting in some of the mandatory quickfire questions. So, overall winners of the 2026 World Cup, please.
Hard to go past France and Brazil. I see one of those nations taking it out.
Okay, so would you say into the final you've got France and Brazil? So there's your winner and your finalist.
I think so. Yeah, if I have to stick my neck out, I'm going with those two.
Who would you say your surprise long shot team is, or your dark horse?
Outside of your big nations, of course, France, Brazil, Spain, England, Germany, I think they're all going to be there or thereabouts. I'm going to back in a side which is definitely a dark horse, but I think they'll have a good tournament. If they can get out of the group, they're in a tough group, but that's Norway.
Wow. Really good call.
Yeah, I think if you look at them, just to give you some context on that one, I think they were coming into the tournament. They are a free scoring side. Obviously they got Haaland up top, but they scored 37 goals in qualification. So they scored more goals than France, Spain, Belgium, and the likes coming into the tournament. Why can't they score these goals at the tournaments? They are in a tough group, of course, but I think if they can get themselves out and get a bit of momentum, they're definitely a dark horse.
And final one from me, Shane. As a former striker yourself, who are you backing for the Golden Boot this year?
That is a tough one as well. Of course, you're going to have Mbappe, Kane up there. World class attackers, world class strikers that you'd like to think they're going to bag some goals. I'm backing a side to sort of make the final, at least outside of Europe, and that's probably Brazil. I think Brazil have a good run. I look at their group and I think they've got some, I wouldn't say easy matches, but they've got matches where they could chip in with a large amount of goals. So someone like Vinny Jr., Rafinha, I think those sorts of players, you might see a potential Golden Boot from Brazil.
Wow, big call. I mean, coming from an English person, Harry Kane seems like the obvious choice to me, but Brazil is an exceptional shout from yourself there. Former World Cup scorer, Shane Smeltz. Thank you very much for coming on, Shane. It's been incredible to have you. This is Tunnel Vision. I'm Adam Connor-Bourne, and you are Shane Smeltz.
Pleasure, Ads. I'll see you next time, mate.
See you next time. Thank you.